Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where we discuss the questions that you have that are most common about your health and fitness goals. So, this time of year I hear a lot about diets, and there's a lot of misinformation and conflicting thoughts about whether diets are healthy, and which one's right for me, or what should I do? There's just wow. And I find it's really interesting that a lot of diets tend to come back around and trend as slightly different things. So let's talk a little bit about that, just because I want to make sure that you understand what diets are really for and why it's not really in your best interest to quote unquote diet, especially if you tend to do it a lot, like on and off and the whole yo-yo thing. So let's really quickly talk about what a diet is, kind of define that so we make sure we're discussing the same thing. And the first thing that we'll talk about is, when it comes to diet, if you look it up in the dictionary, it really means what you eat on a normal basis, on a regular basis. It doesn't necessarily mean the things that you do to restrict yourself when you're trying to lose weight. So unfortunately, that's kind of what it's become. And it's so silly because, of course, most people's idea of what they have to do in order to lose weight and be healthy, those don't necessarily go together. They're not synonymous. Is that, they have to really restrict themselves and to sacrifice and to be miserable. And that's really not what it's supposed to be. If you think about the whole reason that we eat in the first place, food is fuel. It's what helps our body not only function, right? But it also helps us recover, grow, and regenerate. So, you got to really take a closer focus as to what food is for. And I get it. There's times where, we look at it as a social aspect or a cultural aspect, and those are important. I think the problem is we've gone so far away from really what food is supposed to do for us. And of course, most of us have absolutely no idea, or we don't look past at our ancestors where, food tended to be scarce at times in history, and people had to figure out how to live and how to maintain. And not only that is how our bodies have become the way that they have, which is when we tend to be eating in an abundance and having an extra supply, our body has to store it, because evolution says that our ancestors had to, in times of famine, be able to burn off what they had stored on their bodies in order to stay alive. And of course, in this day and age, that's not even we don't need that. You can go down to the corner and get food. Unfortunately, what is available in this day and age, to a huge extent, at least the standard American diet, is extremely unhealthy. And it's not what our bodies were designed to utilize efficiently. So let's talk about really what diet is most important, and whether or not every diet is technically healthy, because it's really unfortunate. If you look at the different diets, it's because somebody has an extreme bias in one direction or another. So, if you look at ketogenic diets, and there's multiple, you've seen multiples of those over the years, the Atkins diet. Excuse me, I'm belching what I just ate. So you're getting kind of somebody's opinion on how that rolls. Like if you talk to a vegan, they are very strongly opinionated, and rightly so. I get we all have our own ideas and thoughts, and opinions and values based on what we believe is to be correct and true. The problem is that doesn't necessarily mean it, biologically speaking, that it works well for everybody. And not only that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. Vegans and vegetarians do struggle to get enough amino acids because they don't tend to get it from animal proteins. So again, you have to be intelligent about how you're going to make sure that you get those nutrients that you're missing. If you're doing something that is a diet that really restricts certain macros, that's just kind of how that has to roll. So, you just have to be smart about it. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book called 1200 calorie diet and other BS, because really I get frustrated. There is no one right diet. I really believe in learning to eat clean and healthy, and really eating for the nutrients that your body needs in order to function efficiently. And at this point, I've kind of learned good. Now my goal is to learn optimal, because I'm now 45, just had a birthday. I don't just want a lifespan, I want a health span. I want to feel good. I want to be optimal. I want to be functional for the rest of my life. And for the first 3 decades of my life, I did a lot of damage unknowingly by eating just a lot of garbage and things that I thought were healthy. But of course, I've done a lot of educating myself to this day, still do. and I know that that wasn't correct. We just aren't taught correctly. And it's unfortunate that most of our nation, I think I heard the statistic today that 40% of our nation is overweight. And to me, that is unacceptable. I heard another statistic that, I can't remember by what year, but that 50% of the population will be diabetic. And again, I find that completely unacceptable. I'm very frustrated that the people who have the most weight in this conversation really don't care, because it has more to do with money than anything else. It's just really frustrating. So my goal here is just to educate you, but you do have some responsibility to make sure that you educate yourself. Because again, you have a different background, you have different genetics, you have different epigenetics, which means just the things in your environment that can affect your genetics. So, I am predisposed to have diabetes. My family has it, my grandmother has it, my mother has it. I know it's passed down in my genes. However, I can live a lifestyle that actually keeps that light switch off, that switch of getting diabetes off, so that I don't have those issues. But it comes down to my environment and the things that I eat. So, hence the reason that I try to eat really super clean. Now, that being said, I'm not immune. I'm not immune to certain things like, I like a good piece of chocolate here and there. I want to have a really good meal at a restaurant once in a while. I just don't do it all the time. Number one, because I can't control what they're giving me necessarily. But I know better, right? I know a little bit better about how my body works. So the reasons, the things that you really should base your nutrition on, and I'm not going to call it a diet because I don't like that word at this point, because it has such a negative connotation. We're going to talk about your nutrition. The benefits and the reasons why we eat are multifaceted. Number one, it's for fuel. It's to make your body go. If you don't put gas in your car, it doesn't go anywhere. So you have to make sure that you're fueling your body, and you have to fuel it appropriately for what you're doing. So if your job is sedentary all day, you don't need a whole bunch of carbs because you're not going anywhere. And yes, I said carbs, like carbohydrates. So making sure that you're eating correctly for what your energy output is really important. Now, if you're working towards doing your first 5K, and your macronutrient percentages are going to be a little different than somebody who is trying to build really big muscles. So again, there's no one size fits all, but primarily your first goal of eating is for fuel, to make your body function properly. Now, if you put cheap gas in a car, what does your car do? It kind of putters around and sputters, and it can't function when you put really nasty gas that isn't pure in your car. Your body does the same thing. So if you put junk in your body just doesn't run as well. So keep in mind, quality matters, especially when it comes to macros. I hear all the time, well, why is this not working? I'm doing exactly what I'm doing the macros. Well, what do those macros come from? Because of course, processed food is not nearly as good for you as something that that's whole, clean, grown. So topic for another day, but just keep in mind that quality really does matter. The next reason for nutrition is to make sure that you're getting enough of the right vitamins and minerals that helps your body function. We all know that if we don't get enough vitamin C, our immune system might be down a little bit. We know that we need vitamin A for our eyesight. So if you're not getting those, and what the RDA is, I can't even think of what it is, dietary. Yeah, I'm having a brain block right now. But what we're told that we should get of each mineral or nutrient, that's based on too many generalized things. You need enough so that your body can function properly. So if you're not getting a lot of fruits and vegetables, if you're not eating lean meats, if you're not, getting enough of the right nutrition, your body's not going to work as well. You're going to be sick more often, and your body might start to show certain situations because, of course, one of the main things that we want to stay away from is inflammation. That is a huge issue, especially in this day and age where we're talking a lot of obesity in our country. Disease comes from inflammation. So if you're eating products like gluten or things that are highly inflammatory and you're not eating enough of the antioxidants and things that can help counteract that, we're going to have issues. And that's why we have such a huge incidence of disease that is, really, we're kind of getting to the point where we're no longer living longer than our predecessors. We're starting to see shorter and shorter lifespans because we're eating crap. That's part of it. We have to eat the right ingredients for our bodies to recover, renew, and regenerate. And what that means is if you are trying to, even if you're just trying to stay young and healthy, right? I don't know about you, I'm fighting age, right? you got to eat the right things. Your cells are made up of lipids, right? Which is fats. And that's why that whole fat causes fat is, not exactly true. The problem is if you're getting your fats from garbage, say, Hostess Twinkies and deep fried foods, what are your cells being made up of? It's being made up of that kind of product, which is not a real great one. So again, we have to make sure that we're getting the ingredients that we need in order for our body to do what it has to do and to stay young and to build new cells and to have great looking skin. So, if you're really struggling, maybe you're having breakouts or you're starting to get wrinkles at an age where you probably shouldn't be getting wrinkles yet. You might have to take a little bit of a look at your lifestyle, your environment, and the foods that you're putting in your system, because it does make a big difference. There's a lot, unfortunately, of myths and miscommunication out there and a lot of conflicting ideas as to how nutrition should work, which in this day and age, this should not be a problem. Things like, just going gluten-free should solve all my issues. While going gluten-free is actually a really good idea because, again, even for this whole, you don't need to stay away from it unless you have celiacs. No, I really think that gluten tends to be a highly inflammatory situation where most of us should probably stay away from it. I know what it's for, and of course it makes pizza crust stretchy, but unfortunately, a lot of us, especially as we get older, have a lot of situations where we have pain, things like, arthritis and, what's the one where you just are in pain all the time? I don't know why I'm having a vocabulary issue tonight. But anyway, those come from a long lifetime of eating things that are highly inflammatory or that our body does not do well with. And then we get things like leaky gut and some other issues that come with that. Other things that, we think, I'm eating lots of fruit and that's healthier. I'm juicing. Yeah, food is not unlimited, guys. It's still a carbohydrate. It's still a simple sugar. Your body's still going to treat it as sugar and glucose. So if you're really trying hard to lose weight and you're not getting anywhere and you're eating a lot of fruit, that might be an issue. So while it has a lot of nutrients and vitamins and minerals in it, which is great, so do vegetables. And you guys, the cleaner you eat, the more that those vegetables taste freaking amazing. I've got a new interest in beets. I really love asparagus and cucumbers and you name it. And I didn't used to be big on vegetables unless it was dipped in ranch. So, you got to get used to it. It's not going to happen overnight, but honestly, vegetables are almost unlimited because they're so nutrient dense. A big one too, like I said, is if it fits your macros, you can have it. Okay, just because it fits your macros doesn't mean that it's a healthy option. Protein cookies still contain sugar. Just because they say protein doesn't necessarily mean they're healthier. Now, they might be a better option than a regular cookie, but that doesn't make it healthy. Same thing with Halo Top ice cream. Yeah, that's great, but it still has sugar. So again, it's not something, just because it's a better option doesn't mean you should be eating it every day because, it's healthy now. No, it's just a better option than full sugar ice cream. So be careful with that and be watching, like I said, quality matters, not just the calories. Low fat foods. It's really frustrating that in the early 90s, our government did such a huge disservice by really promoting the fact that we need to eat low fat. And so the problem with that is, first of all, it's still in all of our heads, right? We're supposed to be eating low fat, but anytime that you get something that's low fat, they've added sugar for flavor and vice versa. So the problem being is, that might be great that you're eating low fat, but that wasn't really the problem in the first place. It's the sugar and the highly processed foods that tend to make you gain weight and be unhealthy. So, we really have to educate yourself a little bit better as to how biology works and how food works within your system and what it's for. And the last one I really want to discuss really quickly is that the calorie is a calorie. And it's not, just because I know Coca-Cola would have you believe that because, of course, they're trying to downplay the fact that their product has sugar and it's causing issues. Calories aren't just calories. If you get a calorie from broccoli that maybe is just lightly steamed, your body has to work way harder to break that down. All those vitamins and minerals get absorbed totally differently than if you're eating a Pop-Tart that turns instantly to sugar in your system. And even though it contains, enriched with vitamins and minerals, it's synthetic. Your body doesn't treat them the same. And so you're not going to have the same reaction. Thereby, a calorie is not just a calorie. If it's coming from a cleaner, healthier option, you're not going to absorb as much as you are if you're going to just eat some junk that's already highly processed and your body just goes, right? So it's just a little bit frustrating. So, my question to you is, what myths and concerns do you have about the things that you've learned about health and nutrition? Because they're really, even, I've taken multiple nutrition classes just because I find it so fascinating. And really, honestly, what I've learned is I learn more through reading specific books on specific topics than I do from nutrition classes, because I'm still reading, like even in college level nutrition classes, there's still information I'm going, we've already proven that's not true, that it makes zero sense. And so they're still touting that. Yeah, there's just got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to educate ourselves, because it's the way that we're going obviously is not working. That's why we have such an issue with obesity and metabolic diseases at this point. So the last thing I want to talk really quickly about, and again, I just don't like the word diet, but let's talk about the mental aspect versus the physical aspect of dieting. Because, in theory, we all have this great idea. January 1st, I'm going to stop eating garbage because I've been eating it all during the holidays, and I'm going to do so great. And in 3 months, I'm going to be a rock star supermodel, right? And then you get into the gist of it, the middle of your goal, and you realize, oh my God, this is so much more mental than I originally anticipated. And so realize that no matter what your goals are, you got to get your head right, right? So really, when it comes to the healthy aspects of dieting, I would say that the first thing you have to do is you have to get your head right, right? People tell me all the time, well, I just want to lose weight so that I can feel good about myself, and that, it fixes my head. And I'm like, that is not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't fix your head, you ain't going to get where you want to go. Flat out. That's just how it rolls, because there's something that has to click inside your head for you to understand what's important, why it's important, and keep you motivated to keep doing the things that make you healthy. And if you can't, if you're still eating a box of donuts every time your boss gets mad at you at work, you're never going to get there. And I get that there's stressful points in life, because I hear it a lot from my clients, like, I've just had a rough week. Dude, I get it. I have rough weeks. I might not look like it, but I do. I have rough weeks all the time. The problem being is we think, well, I'll just start over next week when it's easier. Do you really think you're not going to have any more obstacles come up? Because what I'm going to tell you is you're going to. Because if you can figure out how to deal with it when the obstacles are there, that's how you know you've really arrived somewhere, that you've got something down. Because coping skills are a big part of being able to undo all those bad habits that we've created over the last few decades and being able to get where we want to go. So, guys, I know I've got people popping up and nobody's saying anything tonight. So if you guys have questions, please leave a comment below. You can also message me directly at Facebook Messenger. I get my very best ideas from you guys. So usually it either comes from a current client at work or somebody popping up just saying, hey, what about this? I love it, because then I know what we want to talk about for the next week. If you're missing out on some of these Facebook Lives, my web guy uploads all of them to YouTube, so you can check out my YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe. I swear I have a video hitting on just specifically onto YouTube. I just really struggle with editing software. So it's been a very big learning experience, but they're coming. They're coming. My goal is to teach you how to live a healthy lifestyle. I have a lot of videos coming up on how to travel in a healthy way, including things like going to Vegas. So it's doable. I know you don't think so, but it's doable. So have an incredible evening, you guys. That is Q&A Wednesday. Love answering your questions. Please don't be shy. Have a good one, guys.